Back in November 2019, my dad bought a left-hand drive Peugeot 206. He had one dream: to build a Peugeot 206 WRC. Whoa, proper. That means cage, that means all-wheel drive, that means anti-lag, that means sequential gearbox, and all the rest. I took you through a small part of that process, and I mean very small. My dad did a whole bunch of work on that car over around about 2 to 3 years before finally declaring it done around 2 years ago. Now, you probably know as much as I do that done never means done with a project car. And when that project car is a WRC car trying to be homologated, even more so. So after years of testing and driving and fine-tuning, finally we're in a position where it looks like this. Let's take it for a drive. And I am, of course, here in the Alpha, taking it for a drive today. What a lovely car to drive. Let's jump in it for a second. I've actually been out in the car a couple of times today already. We did a quick sighting lap in it and then 2 fast laps building up the speed. This car is crazy, but I'll talk more about that later. It is so different to the Group B rally car that my dad has, the Renault 5 Maxi Turbo. Serious stuff. And before I take it for a drive, I think there's one thing that we need to do, and that's get a proper walk around of the car now that it's done, now that it's ready. And I don't think I'm the right man to do that, I'll be honest with you. I think that man right there is the right guy to do the job. Look at him, having a great time chatting to his rally mates.
This is my 206 World Rally car, 2-litre 4-wheel drive arrangement, turbocharged, as they were back in the day when Grunholm and Burns, Panizzi and the like were using them. As a World Rally car, there are certain features to it that you might not see. It's got a sequential, 5-speed sequential gearbox, hydraulic handbrake with a disconnect unit under the car that separates the rear axle if you need to do a handbrake turn. It's been done in the colour scheme of the 2000 Monte Carlo car, which Marcus Grunholm drove. The colour scheme changed very quickly from this all silver arrangement to having the red total down the bodywork, which I didn't particularly like. So I just felt it didn't do justice to the shape of the car. Obviously it's sponsorship, and I preferred when the 206 grabbed my attention when it was all in silver. When it was in white and other colours, I never looked at it properly. When I saw it in silver and I saw it, the 3 cars leading or running in the top 5 up to Gap before they didn't start. But they showed their potential and their ability. The specification of the car is such that you have your spare wheel and tank in the back. The spare wheel sits on top of it, you know, a full-on roll cage that really, if the car goes on its roof, you're going to be in pretty good shape afterwards. There are drawings which I had in the MSA homologation book of the car, and that meant the type of tubing that you had to use, the thickness of the tubing, how it had to be welded, where it had to be mounted, how many places it must come in contact with the car. All of this had to be considered when putting it in, mounting the cage in the car. With the car being 4-wheel drive, the rear suspension on a standard road-going 206 has to be vastly different. There is a subframe underneath which carries the rear differential and disconnect unit, and obviously the wishbones are very different, and suspension turrets are into the car, which you wouldn't have had in a road-going car. And obviously the shock absorbers are mounted in from here and go underneath the car, so it's quite a different arrangement in there to take the pounding that a WRC car has to take as a 4-wheel drive machine. As you go round the car, there's a number of fire extinguishers in here. There's the plumbed-in unit down there. There's a CO2 that I have on the floor and a fire stick stuck on the floor as well. The steering wheel is brought forward towards you, so it's not in the standard place that you'd have on a 206, because the seats are all pushed further back, and the co-driver's seat being slightly lower than the driver's seat. This is, although it's using a flat shift mechanism, it still has a clutch. If there's a problem, you can dip the clutch. Switch console contains a number of functions, from the anti-lag settings, lighting, launch control, various other things are all on that panel there, including electric windows. It's done a number of events, and obviously lots of different stickers are on the cage showing where it's been. This is its 3rd year of running, and in many ways you learn a lot about the car as you use it. And so here today we're playing with different spring settings. Different springs are on the front and rear of the car than there were on 2 weeks ago when we were out in Telford. so it's running heavier springs. We haven't got all of the wheel alignment settings quite right because the car was thrown back together last night. It's working really well. It's using a Quaife transmission because it's accessible. I can afford to buy it. It's not the X-Track that's like 60,000 just for the gearbox. And you've got 3 differentials in there, front, centre and rear. They're all semi-active, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, I'm used to 2-wheel drive cars, and it's quite interesting how this car behaves. Well, the Renault 5 that I had, the Maxi Turbo, is rear-wheel drive arrangement mid-engine. And the 2 cars are chalk and cheese, really. You can't really compare the 2 because they're just different machines from different times of rally sport. The Renault will put a grin and a smile on your face every single time you drive it, but you are wrestling with the car on anything that's slightly slippy. Yeah, whereas on the tarmac, it's absolutely at home, which is what it was built for. It's fun to drive, it's light, it's nimble, it's got plenty of power. And then you get into something like this, and again, the car is completely planted on the road. And it almost, except for the most slippiest places, I'm on slick tyres and it still shows you a load of grip. It rewards you for using the throttle. You're in a situation where it's going the wrong way, turn the wheels and apply the throttle, and the disc will sort it out and pull it round. And it genuinely does do that, and I find that quite interesting. It's something I'm still learning. At what point, where's the boundary of the car when it really, you can't get it back, or by using the throttle and you're in the trees, where is that? I'm not good enough to find that just yet, I'll freely admit that. But I am really enjoying driving this car, so it's the one that comes out of the garage whenever there's an event. At the present time, this is the one that comes out. I had to, I mean, they're not brilliant, but they're good enough for me in a rally car. It was my first attempt with carbon fibre and stuff like that, so I feel that it's passable. And it works in the car. There was a lot of work to do, sorting out the tunnels for the prop shafts and the 4-wheel drive and the exhaust. There was a bit of work to do there, and obviously building the front and rear subframes to carry everything. And again, lots of work on the engine to get, because the engine is based on what's called the EW10, which is you'll find it in the 206 GTI, you'll find it in the Citroen Picasso, you'll find it in lots of the PSA cars as an aspirated 2-litre unit. So this needed to be stripped completely back, rebuilt using different crank, different pistons, rods, camshafts, I mean manifolds. There was so much that changes that there's probably only about, I would say about 10% of the car that is actually the same as the 206 road going car. I mean, you're talking about lights and handles and some glass. The rest of it, almost every single panel has been addressed in some way, shape or form, even though it has that silhouette of a 206. It very much not, well, it's a 206 World Rally car as opposed to a 206 GTI. Then that's where the differences are, and they are huge. Suspensions are different, gearbox, transmission, engine, interior, everything is just different, but the lights are the same. Thanks to Peter for some of his help, thanks to Steve here for some of his help, my mate Lyle for encouragement, my wife for putting up with me, as she still does, and Marcus Grunholm for inspiring me with this car.
And so with that, it was now time to get ready to jump into the car. But before I did that, I wanted to have a look at some of the other cars going around, some Audi Quattros, all sorts of stuff enjoying the rally stage. Just before we got into the car actually to go driving, they did change the stage slightly. You could see there was this very, very sketchy back section covered in mud. They decided to get rid of that and instead let us stay on the tarmac and the gravel a little bit more instead. So now it was time for me to jump into the car and go racing. Honestly, you don't want to miss this section. There is a whole bunch of chaos about to take place. This is it, ladies and gents. It is finally time to take this 206 for a drive. Better give it the respect it deserves and actually wear some nice kit for it, shouldn't I? You can see my dad's car blasting up the hill already. Dad's such a keno, he's literally first car out every time. And before I got out to drive the car properly, my dad took me out to review the new stage. is fast. Note to self, that corner's a little bit slippy. Note to self, that corner's a bit slippy.
Yeah, all the corners are slippy.
So that was pretty mad, wasn't it? Next time it's my go. I'll be real with you. I'm terrified. Absolutely terrified.
I've been on this side of the car.
The same thing you said when you got in the...
I've never sat here with anybody. It's just always been me driving.
You said the same with the Renault.
You are the first person to drive it apart from me.
So it's clutch in.
It's in gear.
Yep.
So just turn it and start moving. Run it like a hub.
It's aggressive. Throttle's very loose, very light.
Very slippy in places.
You can see. I'm chilling. For your reference, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
So there's these spectators aren't going to see much.
That's fine.
If it helps, I've also never sat on this side of this car. I know. Yeah, I know. The throttle's gone to the floor. Yeah, throttle. I said it was feeling quite loose and it went straight to the floor.
What it is the grub, the bolt.
I see it, yeah, I can see.
There's one on the fire extinguisher, but I can take that off, but I've got to get it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put something in there to keep the throttle open so that I can taxi back.
2 seconds in, throttle feels a bit loose and ends up snapping on us. The throttle cable just pulled out, so it's part of the game. Go again. So that was a bit annoying, but we got it fixed and I went back out in the car, but this time with Steve instead of my quite nervous passenger dad. So let me talk you through this first session out with Steve then. It was pretty chilled on all 3 of my runs. I wasn't really trying to send it, but it was all about just learning the car and getting a feel for it. Obviously very slippy, it had been raining and it was on gravel a lot of it, so I just didn't want to smash my dad's car into a wall. I'm sure you can appreciate that. One thing I didn't quite get the hang of early doors was second gear. So normally I thought second gear would actually be good enough for a bit of pull out of corners, but actually want to get down into first gear and get a bit more agile, which I learned slightly later on in this run. This corner here, very slippy, as you saw my dad nearly going off on it, but what I was doing there was just staying outside of the potholes. I didn't want to be the one to jam that car into that corner too fast and smash the front end in a pothole, so I just thought keep it simple, stay wide, stay out of the potholes. Coming through that corner there, you can see I was struggling with the handbrake. It wasn't quite as strong as I expected, I suppose. There was just some learning for me to do then, getting it down into first gear and just ripping the handbrake as hard as I could. Something for me to learn for next time I take the car out. Coming back through here again, doing the inside of this loop this time, going into that corner I mentioned with the big potholes on the inside, just staying wide, making sure I don't go off the track like my dad did, and then back down here again. Got a bit bored at this point, decided, you know what, let's open the throttle a little bit, just a touch, and came into this corner, let her absolutely sing. Back came around a little bit, and it's just crazy how well this thing grabs itself and pulls you forward. It just wants to go fast all the time. Coming through this corner then you can really see how short this gear ratio is. First, second, third already, and then we're going to get up into fourth as we hit a huge water splash, which really rips the car to the left-hand side, and then into fifth gear, going up over 100 miles per hour at this point, coming into this corner, and the brakes were so strong, like incredibly strong. I was braking so early for these corners compared to what you could theoretically do, but again, try not to crash my dad's car. Yeah, I got you, don't worry. I want to do another one. I want to do another one.
You've lost it now. You've lost it now. Let's go again.
Not one more, another one.
Don't get silly with it.
I'm not.
Enjoy it.
I just wanted to make sure that I felt it.
He saw you coming round that bottom corner.
He was like, yeah.
That's what it was.
I'll shut up now and let you guys enjoy this third and slightly faster run.
3, 2, 1.
Nearly. Yep. Slippy here, very slippy. Very slippy. Nice. Good teamwork. That was cool. That was really cool. I brought it back in one piece, as I promised.
You looked all right. You looked good.
Thanks for letting me drive it. Hands out. I appreciate that. Are you alive and well?
It was easier with not being in the car.
Was it? You're not a great passenger, are you?
No, I'm terrible.
Steve is much more simple. Steve's just like, yeah, left ear, yeah, grab the handbrake for me on the way down the hill, and that was it. Now, wasn't that special? Obviously, that first time around, having a couple of issues, the putting my foot to the floor and just the throttle cable snapping and having done with it. The nipple on the end of the throttle cable decided to give up the ghost. So that was a bit crazy. So glad I didn't do any actual damage to the car, so that's fine. Taking it out for those second two runs with Steve, I love my dad to bits. One of my heroes. Also, not the best passenger, I'll be real with you. As you might be able to tell from this video and the one in the Renault as well, but it's two completely different cars, honestly. Like, the Renault wants to kill you and this thing wants to kill with you, if that makes any sense. Yes, it's still dangerous. Yes, it's still a bit all over the place as it comes absolutely flying down this bit over here. It really does want to kill you in a different kind of way though. It's like, actually, if you can handle me, then we can do some good stuff together. Regardless, what an amazing experience. Thanks again to my dad for letting me drive it, and congrats to him on building it. Just an amazing job that he's done. What can I say about it? I couldn't really talk much while I was driving it because I was kind of like on it. I was like, I want to make this thing go in a couple of places. Broadly, I just kind of kept it chill, but and sent it a few times. But yeah, mate, honestly, what a pleasure. Driving a WRC car, mate. Imagine what those boys must have felt. Marcus Gronholm, Richard Burns, those guys who got to drive these in real life. As if I just drove it in real life. You know what I'm saying? And drive it at pace as well, all around the world. It must have been insane. And so following all that, my dad took me out for a final ride of the day. It was really fun to get back out there in the car, but I felt like I didn't do a good enough job in this video talking about what the car was really like to drive, and my gosh, it was just, I was absolutely mind-boggled by how fast it was. Like, I've driven some really fast cars this year, but this thing is so capable. You just know there is so much to use. It's just got so much more than is anywhere near my skill level or my dad's skill level. So even here, as my dad takes me out on quite a quick run, it's just, there's so much more that it could do, and in time, hopefully, if I get some more chances in it, I'd like to do some more fast runs and maybe some safer places where there's fewer trees around for me to hit. But yeah, it's just so quick. The things that I really recognised about it were, number one, how much easier it is to drive than the Renault. Should come as no surprise. The Group B rally era was just so aggressive in comparison to WRC, but that just meant that in WRC, when you were attacking, you were really attacking. It's almost like the Group B car, you required a lot more management to get around the track. In this, you just knew that you could go for it. Coming out of this corner, for example, I was always pinned because I knew the car would stick and just go. And it's just relentless. It doesn't feel very fast actually when you're driving it, but then when you watch it back and when you actually look at it from the outside, you realise that when you're doing 120 down this straight right here, it's 120. It's just that the car masks it because you just know it can go even quicker all the time. So really cool car to drive, and again, like, just bonkers that my dad was able to put this thing together to full WRC specification and yeah, get it out on track as we have done today. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't, do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. If you really enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe we'll do some more rallying content in the not too distant future. I really enjoyed doing that. Plenty more to come. Thanks obviously to the patrons for their support, to you guys as well for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.